But in them I say, get out of the way.
Hello and welcome to Office Hours with Amber. I'm Amber and this is Office Hours. We're going to start today with a deep breath. You know, let me make sure the audio is working and we'll be off to the races. I really need to reset the intro because we're no longer improving. Audio's good, phone's away, vibes are high. I am calm because I took a lot of beta blockers today. So I am lifting myself back up with night shift. Ooh, this is raspberry pomegranate, and they just hit their 1,000th order. Congrats to the night shift team. About 700 of those were mine. Just kidding. I've only bought 3 cases so far. But man, they're so good. Anyways, okay. So last week on Office Hours with Amber, I lost my mind. Well, rather, I found my mind. It was really a spiritual awakening. But I talked in circles about all this stuff and all the thoughts and that's all great. And that's very similar to any new client is they're so excited to just talk about everything. And so now as I am managing myself as the client, I now have to step back and I go, okay, let's validate some claims. Let's step into the qualitative and the quantitative analysis. I'm so used to a lot of the things in my life being a qualitative problem, aka the kind of definition between is qualitative. Oh, actually, I'm lying to you. No, I'm not. Qualitative, this is what Google AI says. Easy definition. Qualitative research and data focus on words, meanings, and subjective experiences. Whereas quantity focuses on numbers, measurement, and statistical analysis. And so, because I am now stepping into a more mechanical problem. Like my financial journey all problems I believe have qualitative and quantitative indications of problems. And so with this, because I am a human, humans experience emotions and emotions drive financial behavior, I'm going to be focusing on both. However, I'm real good at talking about my emotions on here. However, today we're going to get nitty gritty into my financial analysis. And it took traditionally before I send an Excel sheet to someone, I would clean it up. I would put some good headers on it. I would, clean up some of the dirt, but that's not helpful for anyone. And what I have to recognize, and the funny thing is all week I was like, okay, I need to prepare for Office Hours with Amber. I need to get all this stuff done so that I can, do all this stuff. And I'm like, whoa, that was never the point of Office Hours with Amber. The point of this is to take 1 hour a week for yourself and myself to push forward on a goal. And I don't know why I was judging myself so hard there's part of my heart that's so excited to dive into this problem and really get into it, but that's also not super sustainable. And I've burnt myself out plenty of times before. And there is a necessity to kind of push the gas pedal on this. But however, there is no benefit to me to judge myself all week to be like, I really should do this thing. Whoa, 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 whoa. We don't do that. We're not doing that anymore. So today, whatever you're working on or not working on, what you want, I hope you all take an hour to just push one pebble into, just push a little bit uphill, just this one little thing. That's it. Because I think someone said something that ignites quickly burns fast. Or burns out fast. And I'm trying this. Officers with Amber has always been about creating the little kindle and building the fire slow and steady. And actually, that's a good point. Telling myself it's a good point. The funny thing about that is because of the consistent development of my Excel skills back in 2025's version of Office Hours with Amber, I competed on last Thursday for the Excel competition, and I think I got 125th. Let's see. I think I was 30th in the country and 125th in the globe. And the reason is because my efforts on understanding the fundamentals of modern Excel skills back in 2025 have lived with me since. Even if I don't practice them frequently, I can still pick them back up very easily because I did consistent small efforts. And so it's easy for, like, although I've been away from the competitive Excel sphere for 6 months now, and maybe there was less competitors, but regardless, I was proud of myself for my performance on that. So I think it's that if I go low and slow and go bit for bit and I show you all of the different problem solving techniques I use, I'm going to believe the outcomes much more. And so that's where I hope and encourage anyone who's working on something themselves this week to, hey, 1 hour towards your goal is 1 hour you didn't have before. 15 minutes, whatever. I'm not here to be like super like cheerleader girl, but all I'm saying is the proof is in the pudding. It's tough to fight. I'd love to get it wrong. And we have a special delivery from Matthew White. He is bringing in a pizza. If you'd like to be on the stream, you can come say a quick hello.
Brought to you by Urbelli's Pizza Invasion.
They can't see you.
Oh, it's off screen.
You're right there.
Pizza Invasion.
Can you put that in the fridge? Thank
What do
you.
you want?
I don't want it at the moment. I got financial things to do. Banjo's stressing out, but we'll be off to the races in 1 sec. Oh. All right, we're back. Okay, cool. Today, Banjo's going to continue to freak out. There's a few things that I did put in place today in comparison to last week, however. So, the cool thing is I am tracking my habits, and I instilled a few habits on my habit tracker. So, I included in and out of bed by midnight and 9 a.m. We've got the goal for tracking my hours daily so that it makes invoicing a bit easier. We've got some kind of more focused in not eating out because that was a big source of financial distress. So we've got this app called Habit Tracker. I think it was $7 for lifetime access. And so, as I've shown you before, I track all of my little habits here. And all of those indirectly or directly aid in my ability to manage myself financially or otherwise. But now that I've been using that for a few months now, but I've added a few new habits to be tracked. So there's so during bye. Thank you. Banjo's upset that he's leaving. Okay. Anyways, I have put in basically Off Stars with Amber is going to become my KPI meeting. If you're unfamiliar with what a KPI is, it's a key performance indicator. Essentially, really, we're not going to get into the whole philosophy of like KPI trees, but basically, if I want to be profitable, I need to be tracking my income, my expenses, and then what drives those things. So income, then we can break it out into all of my sales behaviors and my prospecting activities, my number of open leads. Into expenses, we can start looking into the kind of how much debt is accruing interest and also how much new debt is being created. And then underneath that is expenses. And expenses are driven by, say it with me now, emotional behaviors. So that is why I have a habit tracker to manage my inputs to the system of Amber. Even though that might eventually, and that's on my kind of action log, I want to talk about it in a sec, but I've put those in place so that I can keep better tabs and really zoom out weekly to be able to see how did I do this week? Because day to day, you just get kicked in the head by life. Anyways, Banjo, I know, was that crazy? We don't normally have pizza men come into our house without knowing. Anyways, thank you to the night shift team for sending us all pizza. Banjo, I'm going to need you to sit down. If you see the camera wiggling, it's because Banjo is on the same plane that I'm going to need you to sit down, brother. It's just going to continue to wiggle. None of my business. Anyways, so I'm going to show you some of the stuff I've been working on, and then we're going to get into the financial analysis. I've already kind of done the qualitative analysis in my sticky note exercise, but I haven't. What I want to do is I want to take the qualitative and pair it with the quantitative. So inside of my sticky notes, sometimes in a few of my sticky notes, I have like open, like boxes because I don't know what the actual number is. So the qualitative and the quantitative kind of work together in my world. But yes, okay. We're gonna go into the computer now. Okay, so one other concept that I want to kind of talk about here is the concept of the axis of the kinds of expenses I have. So there's expenses that are needed and recurring, which is going to be like bills. You've got like not needed but one time, and those are going to be more emergencies. Like I had my windshield on my car replaced by use insurance for that, so I'm stoked about that. But then there's not needed one time, and those are temptations, luxuries, convenience. Like when I travel, that falls into that category because it could recur, but you don't know, like it's not really, it's something very easily controllable. And then you have recurring not needed, and that's going to be like your subscriptions, your fast food, like your habitual purchases that aren't actually needed. But of all of these four, and I was talking with my girl Jasmine. I think it's your money friend Jasmine on, let's see, your money friend Jasmine. I'll have to find. Oh, yes. If you see this girl, this is my friend. She's my friend and my money friend, Jasmine. And she talks all about different. She does a mixture of like structurally good information on financial literacy and things to do. It's like procedures when you get your check-in, what you should do and how much should go towards it, whatever. She does kind of like a mixture of that, like structurally good advice, and then additionally, like if you have an HSA, here's some cool stuff you could do with it. Here's some hacks on how to get the most bang for your buck in this way. So she kind of mixes in like functional advice versus like cool things she's learning, because she lives in she went from living in St. Louis to New York City, and that's quite a different financial situation. So I encourage, it's always good tips. I think there's sometimes that I like look back at young Amber that had a salary, and like it's really awesome advice for people with salaries, but it's also great advice. She does like her side hustle updates, and so she talks about like dog walking, here's how much I made, here's how much energy it took. Like she talks about kind of like the more literal side of how to make more money outside of your normal salary. I think it's really awesome advice for anyone who has a salary or is like kind of dabbling or wants to learn more about finances. It's really tough when you're already in like a sensitive place of being like, I don't even have $2 to rub together. But I have to remember her content is made for people generally, not me specifically. So I take what I need and I leave the rest. But yeah, as much as I say that money is not a personal thing, man, do I take a lot of personal judgment about what I do. So that's why we're here today. That is the whole point. So anyways, so this is another subcategorization that I'm going to do, but that's not my first pass of any of this. And I want to show, so inside of the Amber's owner's manual, basically it's going to have a million tabs, and it's going to be basically every like subsystem of how I work and how I function. Like it's going to be like a preventative maintenance plan like you would get within a machine or your car. So I'm excited to build out kind of like a one-stop shop Amber's info place. But anyway, so I'm going to be tracking similar to like the way I project manage my clients. I'm going to be project managing myself, and that is where we have all of our action items of all the good ideas of everything that I want to do. And I am going to there's a few things that I've already done, and so at the end of this whole journey I want to show like how many micro actions did it take to get me out of the pile. So anyways, I did already cancel my unpaid travel, and I created a habit dashboard. Ta-da! So the nice thing is with that habit app in my phone, it will dump all of my habit information, and then I can go here and it's just a pivot table that connects to that data. and I can then look at my habits for the week. And so what we can see is all of my weekly habits and my monthly habits are going quite well. And we're looking at the weekly last week. So this would include, I think it's the 26th through the 1st. So some of these are a little embarrassing. And you know what? That's the way it goes. Like for brushing teeth, I'm glad I brush my teeth at least once every day, but that is a subsect of like my depression. So when your girl gets depressed, these teeth not taken care of. So that is why I put it in here, because I'm like, what is habits for others is not habits for everyone. So anyways, the more concerning one is like we have 31% achievement of emptying all my inboxes. And so the reason why emptying inboxes leads to financial, you know, better financial situations is because if I'm not checking my email or if I'm not clearing my inboxes, that means I'm probably administratively pretty behind, which means I'm probably not looking as close as I need to at the different weird bills that might come in or like tasks that would need to be done. And so that is only mildly concerning. And sometimes I'll put 1.5 because the action items inside of the inbox aren't complete. So when it's like a 3, that means all inboxes are clean and there's no action items for me. But sometimes that one's a tough one anyway, just because I have a lot of tasks in there. But the other thing you'll notice is my sleep is whack as hell. So my goal is 7 hours, but on average we're getting about 5.5. But that's okay. Getting one thing done. That's a quick win. In bed by midnight 30. That's been an awesome rule. And that has really proving to myself that I can physically be in bed by midnight 30 every night, actually quite helpful. Logging hours in Airtable. I created one thing about hours logging is that it's a pain in the ass. But what I realized is I just needed a button. So in Airtable, I created a button to toggle start-stop times. Now it's so much fun. Now I love clicking the button. Sometimes it's as easy as creating a button, which is so upsetting because I've been struggling with invoicing for 3 years now. We're fine. That's the point of this. Anyways, reading, no chance. No drinks. I've gone 2 weeks without drinking, and it's not that it's not like a huge accomplishment, but it's like, now I'm kind of excited to see how long I can go without drinking, because that is a huge financial disincentive. It's a huge productivity disincentive. So now I'm kind of like excited to see how far I can take with that. Opal, additionally, love her walking is getting almost better. Walking Benjo, watching. Okay. So the other thing that I included here is not eating more than 2 meals out in a week. And so that is helpful and so this is almost the opposite of the other goals. And so we want it to be 0. Actually, we'll do that later. Anyways, the no eating out was also a financial drain as well. So the cool thing is next week, I hope to have, this is the habit review, which will be pretty easy next week. We'll be like, oh, red, why? Now, the next week, I will have a financial review, because what I want to do is basically say, hey, here's what I spent money on this week. And then I want to watch that number decrease over time until I can get it to a point where it's like, okay, we are in fully aware, in control, and understanding of the money that we're spending. So I think that will be helpful just generally. I do this kind of on a monthly basis, but not well enough. So with that being said, we're now going to start the financial analysis. And this I would describe as the quantitative, because it has quantities. What you're going to see is all my expenses of everything. I did already delete account numbers out and my income out, just because I don't need to be outing all of my clients and, who's working with me. It's none of your business. Actually, let me make sure that I cleared the names on those. I think I cleared all of the... yeah, I cleared all the data for income. Okay, cool. Okay, so with this is every transaction of ever for the last 2 years. And really I don't need to categorize, sort through all of this, it'll be more so beneficial to see trends over time. And really, it's like last 6 months, last 6 weeks is going to be most helpful. But we got it in here anyway, because you never know what could happen. So in terms of what I want to do, like if I was giving tips to someone else getting into sorting out their finances, I would kind of do it in 2 passes. One, I would get it into, we need to do things to just get it into a time series. If you just create this into a pivot table based on like some like absolute references, it's not going to flex with you. You're going to have to repeat the exercise next month. I want to set us all up to be able to repeat this exercise pretty fast. So the thing about data, when you receive this, it's always going to come to you in like some sort of fuck ass CSV. And that, if you do anything in a CSV and you save it off as a CSV, it's just going to, like if you create another tab or do analysis, when you save it, it's not going to save. And that is going to chap your ass. Anyways, so you want to make sure that you save off your CSV, you drop it into an Excel sheet, whether you keep it on the same tab that you do the analysis on or not. Don't give it. That's really none of my business. But I'm going to show you how you can quickly toggle between and copy paste all that stuff. Okay. Oops. There we go. Okay. So the other thing about structured data tables is right now, if I click in here, you see how at the top, it doesn't really say, there's no green table design. All you need to do, Control T, the expenses. We'll just call it expenses. Expenses. So you see how now if you click inside of this table, it's got all these filters. It's got this green thing at the top that says table design. And you want to make sure your table name is something useful, because then if you ever want to, I'm going to put this over here. If you ever work at the structured table, you can always like reference that table independently, which I don't even know if you can really see this. Let's make this screen a bit bigger. How about that? We'll see. Okay. But you can spill that table, or you can even just spill let's just say, just the category. And then if you see how it says shopping like 6 times and it's like they're all kind of all over the place. You can do unique. And then you have a unique set of values that's inside of that table. And then additionally, which I don't love that is only, feels like there's other ones missing from that. 2,300. I'll have to look back because I have my business expenses in there as well. So I'll have to look at that. But anyways, the nice thing is because I did this exercise, I can quickly see that there's something missing. And you know what? I think it's because when I deleted my income, it probably deleted everything between it. Right. Okay. Well, let me fix that first. But anyways, I love a structured table reference because then everything that it will expand and contract the data that you're putting into it. And that's important. That is important. Okay, download the file. I'm going to be bummed if the export just wasn't exporting correctly. Have you seen in the 2300, let me see. There's a movie called Obsession, and then inside of Obsession there's a part where she's like, no, I thought we were having a nice date. Oh, okay, yeah, I did delete those. Nice, Amber. Okay, I'm recopying in my data so that I can go back and have the correct stuff. The correct stuff. Ooh. You can't see what I'm doing, but I will tell you in a minute. That's exactly it, Mom. No, I thought we were having a nice date. That is my soul. whenever like I see those videos come up, I'm just like, what are we doing? Uh-oh, you're being nuts. How weird. Okay, there are 2336 records on that. There are 2336 on this one. Nice. Okay, I can close that now, and then I can show you guys stuff when I get my income taken out. Okay. I think... Right. Let me remove my account numbers. Because you don't need to know all that. Ain't nobody need to know all that. Oh my gosh, there's so many. Nice thing is I've got the infinite scroll wheel, which is so nice. Okay, I'm now ready. Okay, so data set. And the nice thing about this is you can always Alt Shift right, group that shit up and hide it. I love it. Okay, we're going to hide you over here. Don't need you right now. And then, so like we were saying, expenses. I want to do a unique of expenses. I want to do unique of the categories. Now you see how there's like way more of them? That's what I expected to see the first time. And the nice thing about having, instead of just doing a filtered list, doing that in a structured table, it doesn't delete all your shit. So good. Anyways, okay. So first pass, we need a structured data table, which we have done. Ew, the colors are so bad. Okay. Also, I need to, this is not important for this moment specifically, but I hate the preset colors in the table design. Like, barf. Make it less ugly, please. I digress. Okay, week, month, year delineation. Right now, all we have access to is the date. So if I was to make a, let's just shrink this just a little bit. If I was to make a insert pivot table, a pivot table, and then do it by date, you see how, well, you can actually see. There's years, quarters, months, date, but if any of your data is even mildly typed in wrong, or any of the data, like, I've seen dates go so super left, and so I like being able to have its own, like, being able to put years and then months separately, and it's not reliable enough for me that I just like to put in my own columns. But that's on trust issues. I think in terms of color, I just wish it was just less ugly, because like you see this, like, doesn't this just make you feel alarmed? Like, I wish it was cuter. And that really, I think, comes down to, like, you can do the dotted borders instead. Beep, beep, beep. Like, and that kind of softens it up. And like, the other thing that Excel can, like, it's hard to like adjust these, and you can duplicate, but like to adjust it is really technically weird. And then the more colors, there's no like eyedropper tool, so you can't just like so I have my brand colors that I would love to use, but it doesn't save very well, and it's a pain in the ass. So that's on me. I just hate this. But anyways, okay, we're back. Okay. So, first pass, week, month, year. So, week. The nice thing with structured tables as well is when you type, it'll just make an entirely new column, and then it will drag down all of your calculations based on the height, the size of the table. So then you don't gotta drag that shit around, because I don't have time for that. Month, year. The blue does make me feel like a checkbook, but it's like, purple makes it feel adolescent. The red feels antagonistic. Blue, check, like, it's, both of these blues are pretty whatever. The green is just disgusting. Orange, heinous. And all of them just like, I just wish I could tweak it just a little bit. But actually, you know what we should do? We should just gray. We're just going to do gray for now. Just net even. We're not bothering nobody. Okay. So the other thing to know is the week is there's ISO week number and then there's the week number. So the difference is I think ISO week starts on like if the year isn't just if it starts on like a Monday or a Sunday, like the ISO week, there's like a 53rd week of the year where it's like December 30th, December 31st, first, second, third, fourth. And for those purposes, it's helpful. Like technically you could be in a different ISO week, and I never know which one, but I like ISO week better. Let's ask Google what the difference is. Okay, the main difference is how they define the first week of the year. Okay, so week number treats January 1st as week 1 and usually starts the week on the Sunday. ISO week number starts on a Monday and week 1 is the first week containing a Thursday. Ew. Both of those are kind of icky, but whatever. I like ISO week number in my history. Things that I don't really care about right now, let's collapse the middle. Okay. So we've got our ISO week number. We now want the month. And now we want the year. Bingo, bongo. Another thing that is helpful is because we're going to be like, if we were to use this year over year over year, that means week 3, or because we're currently in week 30 of the year, 31? I don't know. The 30-ish, if-ish? Well, wait, let's ISO week num. Today, we're in the 32nd week of the year, isometrically. Hey, Eric, I'm having loads of fun. Because this is going to be showing year over year. That's where I want to show, we can do some combinations. Equals. I don't like the way that's. Nice. And then we'll do month, year. We'll do the same. Oops. Oop. Same thing, but then we change that to month. Okay. Okay, we got that. The delineation's good. Nice. Okay, now view top expenses by month and patterns over time. So now that we have like these extra columns, like the first pass is we just want to see what comes out naturally before investigating. Let me filter to just blanks. We're not going to worry about that for now. We just filter out the blanks anyway. The nice thing about the table range is it just references the named range, and it's so nice. Okay, now we can close all this stuff down because we don't need all that. So now each week when I come in here, or, you know, as I continue to, listening to the brilliant daughter talk. Thank you. Eric, how's it going? How's the day? Okay, now this is the part where I have to just swallow all of my pride and just let it happen. It's gonna be fine. Okay, let's just look at recently. Let's look at the year. Oops. We're going to look at the year, and it's going to be 2026. I'm like trying to pre-filter as much as I can. We're going to put the months in the columns. Let's relax on the grand total. Let's just not. We don't need all that right now. Let's also look at the category. We're going to sort. We can sort after we amount. Ugh. Let's do this as a number. We're not going to mess around with pennies. Let's just get over it. Yeah, nice. Okay. Sort. Some. And then let's. You're seeing the wheels turning in my brain because I'm like, what is that? Because the thing that I put was investigate, and I'm like, well, I'm pretty sure. Sometimes, okay, now this is silly. So inside of Rocket Money, you have options to be able to categorize your stuff. And because I pay for the pro version, you can create your own labels. And so if I want to go back and look at an expense to be like, is that a real expense? Or, to look into something like that, I also will put investigate if I don't know the correct accounting bucket to put it in. So when I come and meet with my accountant lady, I'll be like, hey, what do I do with these 6 things? And she's like, put in these. So really that 7,000 of investigate is more of, it was like a pass along cost. So like, it was like, I put it on my card just for them to pay me back for it. And so it really was like a net zero. So we're just gonna keep going. But that didn't incur any interest of the weird things that I've put in here. Okay, I'm done making excuses. Anyways. The other thing is I paid taxes, like my quarterly taxes here, but I think taxes and licenses is more so supposed to be like this is where my understanding of accounting gets like a little gray, but nothing like that really. I mean, I guess it is the leading cause of me not having spare cash is my taxes, but to decrease your taxable income is to decrease the money you have. Like, I would just be spending money. So for now, actually, what I'm going to do, let's just look at the non-C value filters that, wish there was a doesn't contain. So in that circumstance, I'm going to add a column for C underscore. And then it doesn't really super matter if it says tax to go. I'm just going to clear out the business ones. So we're going to say business. And that will be equals if search C underscore within this. If it finds it, or that is greater than 0, then business, else personal. And of course, if error. Because if it doesn't find anything, it's just gonna think, like if it doesn't find, like the search function is looking for something, and if it doesn't find it, it's just going to think it's an error. So really, if it doesn't find it, that means it wasn't a business thing anyway. So there's probably a cuter way to do that. Donkey. Okay. So now we've added that. We're going to close that back up. We're going to right click refresh. We're going to field list. Now we've got the business or personal. So let's just look at personal. So now we're going to sort based on the value, the sum of the amount. And that one was a pass along, so I'm not too worried about that. And let's turn on our grand totals. Let's do it. Horrific. Could you imagine? Well, actually, okay. because I was like $5,000 this month. That's not true. This is for the first 7 months of the year. And we're in this one. So we'll filter that guy out. Hide that guy. Don't need him. Don't need him. We're looking at months that have completed. Because if we were to analyze, hey, Jody and Eric, I think I said hello. We're here. We're just looking at stuff. Anyways, so by looking at this, what we see, right. Cool thing about this as well is you can double click on it and you can see all of the transactions that are related to that number that's being summed up. So what we might recognize here is what happened in January. Amber went to Australia. What happened in June? Amber paid to go to New Orleans. What happened and there's 229, 229, which is weird. Oh, that's right. So that was actually, those two were the same, that was the same trip. What happened there? My birthday. Right. So it goes Australia, wedding, my birthday, which that sucked so bad because I thought I had paid for it up front. Like I thought I had already paid for it. So when they billed me after I already had like spent so much money at the casino, and then I got the room bill and I was like, please God, no. So that horrific. But anyways, we're not doing that anymore. So we've got my birthday, then we've got New Orleans. So that's the nice thing about what we've already taken action on. The nice thing about what we've already taken action on is there's no more unpaid travel like for the rest of the year. So let's do this. So the other cool thing that we can do is technically, I don't even need to keep expanding those pages. What I could do is not the institution. Description. So if we expand that out, it'll say exactly, let's collapse all of these. So if I expand this and I want to, let's sort the description as well by the amount. So for instance, what we can see is let's create some room. Damn. Okay. But what we can see here is that Gun Lake Casino was the single biggest one, but we've also got that. This was for New Orleans, and then everything else was like, you can see how many microtransactions I had when I was in Australia, because I was like, well, fuck it. What am I going to do? And that is the kind of negligence that we don't have the room for anymore. But anyway, so you can kind of expand and contract there. Loan payment. So this is bills. So those are student loans and my car fees. Oh my gosh, that's my interest. Accruing? Oh my Jesus. Car and student loans. Ignore. Already paid back. And then dining drinks. So you might see that there's a huge uptick here in May, June, and you might be like, that's weird. What's that for? Perhaps it's because I was gutted from my home and lived in a hotel that had infinite access to food and beverages that were really good. So, and this was like kind of the moving spree. So I really was pretty okay at not spending too much. This was a little bit of my birthday. Like there was a little bit of pre-birthday activities there. But inside of here, I'm really not like in steady states. I really don't spend that much. Now, the 300 is also encompassed in the travel and vacation. So that's where you can kind of go back and forth there. But anyway, so those are kind of some trends that I'm seeing already. And then shopping wise, let's see what our girl's been shopping with. Amazon, Apple, Costco, Amazon. So the other thing, you see how there's like a few different Amazons here? Amazon, Amazon, Amazon. You can't really see it too well because it's all split up by the description name. So that's where you can then look at description name. Okay, so the name is I think their best adjustment. Their best attempt at doing that. Let's see. So at least it puts, I mean, it's in alphabetical order, but it's still like each order has its own number, which is not helpful. But it did consolidate quite a few others. So this looks like just kind of the miscellaneous small things, but you can see that the small things all add up. So it's still worth looking into. And then I would have to look closer at the specific things that I ordered to be able to. I think these are mildly things that I got on vacations, but it's worth looking into to at least budget for. So the other thing is, of all of this, the 41,000, well, there's internal transfer. We can filter that out, actually. We don't need you because it's just moving money around. Filter, hide. Filter, hide. Filter, we don't need those. Interest earned, don't need that. Education, gifts. Okay. So of the 51,000 that has been spent in 7 months, then you can start to look at, we can do Operato. Let me do that over here. So I want to see how much, like if we were to focus on X amount of them, it would, I want to, if you're unfamiliar with the Pareto principle, let's look it up. Basically the 80-20 rule. So I want to see if 80% of my problem lives in 20% of my spend, which it probably, I mean, somewhere along the lines does. I'm going to hide this one as well, just because that's something that didn't actually financially impact me. It was like a in-out situation. So, and it's not that I'm trying to hide things. It's more that I'm trying to like get to the things that are habitual or like truly rooted in something I can do about. Okay, so I've got those. And then we're going to say equals this plus that. That's weird that they're both 5,500. None of my business to know. That's spooky, but oops. Equals this plus, oh Jesus, equals this plus that. And then equals this divided by, equals this divided by, nope, equals this divided by the sum. So category running total amount percent impact. Motherfucker. Come on. Okay. So what we can see is we get to 80% just by this area. So if we focus on just these areas, and that's where now we're going to move in. Basically, these are the side, like the large sweeping things that I want to kind of pay attention to. Because what we can see here is like software technology, charitable donations, health and wellness. Those are not the things that are driving driving the largest impact in my budget. It's going to be food. It's going to be travel. It's going to be shopping. It's going to be my car, which gas prices. But so, and that's where I want to, like, now that I can see that, that's where I want to go in and be able to, because right now you're like, okay, well, bills, you can't do much about those, and you can't do much about this. But that's where I want to go back in and do this analysis. So that's why this is second pass. So we've already shown kind of the key patterns and the expenses month over month. And so now let's go back into the second pass, and then this is where it's going to take a little bit longer, but being able to assess the recurring, not needed, energetic profitability, that's probably a third pass situation. And yeah, I'm going to try to show some tips on how to do that quickly, but let's go back in. Let's create some space. Recurring. And then necessity. And I'm going to try to stick to actually using the 4 because those 4 quadrants, because if you start to wiggle, be like, well, it wasn't, like, it was kind of needed. No, it either was needed, like, absolutely, your life depended on it. You must do it or you will lose. And I think the defining what you believe to be necessary and not, it will help you determine the real recurrence of it. So this, we don't really need to see all this to make those decisions. We don't really need to see the amounts to see the decisions. We don't really need to see the account stuff. The date is generally helpful. Okay. So what I like to do with this is sort it based on the name, because then you can I might filter to just Apple Card, Apple Cash, Capital One. We'll filter to the cards that actually create, like, you kind of want to filter to cards that are, you want to, in terms of the, oh shit, in terms of the 80-20 of your energy, if you, like, because I could hyper meticularize and do insane, like, every single like, I could review all of these, but what I need to do is get the most bang for my buck before my ADHD floats away without me, because by making it more daunting than it is, that is what causes the problem. So really, maybe I need to go by the large, like, there's 2 options. So if there's something like Amazon that I spend a lot with, or like frequently with, that's where you can get a lot of, like, you can like copy and paste how, I'll show you. We're not gonna talk about it, we're gonna be about it. Rent. Oh, cute. Yes, my Planned Parenthood records are in here, which we love. Let's see. There we go. So for instance, we've got Wildwood. And so that would be yes, recurring. Yes, necessary. Yes. And then, for instance, Wildwood. So because it's a disaster in here. Yikes. Now the deposit is not recurring, but it was a necessity. And that's where it's going to be helpful to see the amount. Motherfucker. I should have okay. 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 I'm going to freak out. Come here. Like for instance, Taco Bell. You can see the side swiping of how I wonder how much that I spent in Taco Bell in that period of time. $658 over the course of 2 years. Hell yeah, I deserved every bit of that. I would say this is recurring based on how frequent it is, but it is not necessary. So then, of the 2,000 records that we have here, that's where you can start to kind of split them out that way. And we do have only 5 minutes left. And that's where, like, a few other things is I kind of want to insert to the right. Thank you, Eric. I agree. In terms of the category, because I have categories of like what it was spent on, but in terms of like category, talking about something like bills. Bills, convenience, emergency, which only encompasses, like, I think it's going to be easier instead of later having to subcategorize like again. Like, it's recurring and not needed are like our convenience, whereas what's the word for that? It's like flexible spending, but it's like discretionary spending. Cost that a business or household can survive without, if necessary. Okay. Okay, but basically, there's a difference between, I think, I'm gonna make convenience into like, these need cuter words. Treat yourself. Bills. There's really no cute way to dress all the rest of them up. But I think I need to like say like the one-off not needed things are like me treating myself. I'm going to do treat yourself. And then discretionary, emergency, bills. I think that's a good way to do this. But where I think this is a good place to, I think we've made some good progress today. At least, okay, my goal for myself is to complete the second pass, analyze spend, second pass, categorization. Okay, that's my plan. Is by next Monday, I want to have my second pass categorization of my expenses set up so that I can work on analyzing the discretionary spend and the treat yourself spend, because not only I want to be able to get a number, like actually quantify, like we have one treat yourself purchase a quarter, and there's for discretionary spend you are allowed this amount of money. I think those are two things that are going to be necessary. Bills are like a tip Jasmine said is like all bills are negotiable. It's more, most bills are negotiable. So working on looking at the bills and decreasing what spend I can from inside of there, but my goal is to at least have the quantitative done by next Monday so that we can look at the results and feed that into the qualitative, and then go and continue the sticky note exercise with real numbers and kind of some of the things that we've found in our analysis of that. So anyways, I will see you guys next week. I will TTYL.